Hello, everyone, and welcome to our interregional podcast. We are the Vietnamese Student Association at the University of Washington Bothell, or VSA UWB for short. My name is Brandon Vu. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am the Public Relations Officer for VSA UWB for this academic year. And I'll pass it off to Jasmine.
Hey y'all, my name is Jasmine. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the treasurer of VSA UWB this academic year. And I'll pass it off to Brandon.
Hello everyone, my name is Brandon, pronouns he, him, his, and I am this year's external vice president. And last but not least, I'm going to let Johnny introduce himself. So Johnny, go ahead.
Hi everybody, my name is Johnny. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am an alumni at UW Bothell. I was the former historian and external vice president at VSA UWB.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay. But yeah, so today the topic is how has VSA impacted your life? And so that'll be our first question. Johnny, how has VSA impacted your life?
Oh gosh, where do I start? I mean, I guess for the first thing is that VSA has given me lifelong friends. Like if it wasn't for VSA, I wouldn't have never met like half of the people that I would consider my closest friends. Just like, you know, all the interactions that I've had throughout the years with being first a part of SU VSA and then transitioning over to UW Bothell VSA and then just doing all the conferences and being on staff and things like that. Like just the relationships I've built and, you know, the interactions I've had has really helped me develop as a person. It also has helped me build connections within my career field as well. And just overall, just like having people there just to talk to and be there for me, and I do the same thing for them. So that's like the biggest thing that VSA has brought into my life.
Was there something memorable like throughout your journey in VSA since you graduated?
Since I graduated, I have pretty much left the VSA world. Just because, you know, within the 4 years that I had done VSA, I felt like I pretty much did everything that I possibly could, in terms of leadership positions, opportunities, you know, just even like the social side of things, like going to conferences, and I've pretty much have done everything. And so when my senior year came around and I finally graduated, I told myself that I would take the time to focus on my career, focus on my future, just because the reason why I said that was because I could have stayed. You know, I could have stayed being involved with things like Northwest or things involved with UNAFSA. But the way I thought of it was like, VSA will always be here. My career and my future will not. So at a certain point, for everybody who's listening, you know, VSA is great and VSA will give you everything that, you know, that I just talked about. But eventually there's going to be a point where you have to take control of your own life and you have to start thinking about your future and establishing your future and doing all those different things. And so to answer your question, Jasmine, like there hasn't been a lot of memorable things after my graduation, just because I've been focusing really a lot on my career, which is trying to be a high school teacher. So retirement is great, is what I'm saying.
Respect. To go back, you mentioned that you started off at Seattle University VSA, was it? I know that, so for me, I know Johnny from UW VSA, or VSA UWB mainly, but I haven't really heard of Johnny's story like from Seattle University, so would you care to expand on that for my sake?
Yeah, so when I went to Bellevue College my first 2 years, my freshman and senior or sophomore year, and at Bellevue College they didn't have a VSA over there. And the reason why I even heard about VSA in the first place was because my older cousin, his name's Carl, he is actually the one that founded VSA UWB. He's also known as the Dep Jai King of Northwest. And so my younger cousin, her name's Karen, she was a part of SU VSA over there, and she was very well established there. So I had a choice. I either could have joined my older cousin over at UW Bothell, or join my youngest cousin over at Seattle University. And ultimately, I ended up deciding to pick Seattle University just because from Bellevue College to SU, it was just a going west on I-90 towards Seattle. It was just a straight shot rather than going back up north from 405. And every single day I would end class at Bellevue College at least by like 4 p.m. So driving west to Seattle was a lot more convenient for me than trying to drive back up north to UW Bothell. So I ended up joining them my freshman year. If I can remember everything that happened my freshman year, I ended up joining their program and their VSA over there. I joined their ACE program, and I ended up getting two bigs. Their names were Tyler and Raymond. And they had a lot of cool events and a lot of cool things that happened. I remember they having like a haunted house night. We had a lot of food nights and stuff, and I became really close friends with all the people down there, and it really helped me build my roots in VSA over at SU, to a point where in my sophomore year, they ended up making an exception for me and allowed me to be a part of their officer team, and I was the historian for them during my sophomore year, and even though I wasn't a student at SU. And through there I did the culture show. I got introduced to TIS. I was a part of the dance team, and just like met a lot of great people there. And I'm trying to remember everything I did. It's way too much, but yeah, that's like my how my VSA journey started over at SU.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Johnny. That's interesting because I did Bellevue College for the Running Start program. I did part-time in high school, junior year and senior year, and at the time, Running Start was like a entryway to college for me. But the way I saw it was, I'm just here to take college classes and save money on college credit. So I wasn't really looking for any VSA or like any extracurricular clubs. So I didn't really notice that there wasn't a VSA at Bellevue College, but I think if I knew that what you did was kind of like an option or a pathway for me, I feel like Bellevue College would have been a much more attractive option for me rather than going to University of Washington Bothell, because I already did part-time, which is equivalent to about 1 year, and I could just do another year and then transfer to a different college. But yeah, I think that's really cool. Yeah.
Well, one of the main reasons why I ended up doing VSA in the first place was because at Bellevue College I had a really hard time making friends.
Yeah.
Like I remember every single day for lunch I would sit in my car and park close enough to where I can get Wi-Fi on my laptop and just watch YouTube videos and eat lunch until my next class. And like the only time I really made friends was people in my class, but we never really hung out and stuff. And so I really missed that social aspect of college, and I felt really lonely, And so like joining VSA over at SU gave me an excuse to be social. And I think that finding a group of people that you can relate to and you can hang out with was really, really important for me, just because in high school, I came from a really like white dominant high school, and I was one of the only Asian people in my school. And so leaving that and going into college, like I really wanted to find what my roots are, what my culture is, who I am as a Vietnamese person. And, I was really striving for that. And so joining SU was definitely a big option for me. And, and this even can apply to people who are over at Cascadia, we're really, really close. And so you don't necessarily have to be a UW student in order to join our VSA, like you can do what I did, just join and be welcomed, because, the VSA that I know is going to welcome every single person that wants to join us.
Yeah, Johnny, your situation was the same as me, to be completely honest. Why is my my video's like buggy? And why is it still doing this? Hold on. Okay, Johnny, I think your situation was the same as mine, starting college. I think coming into college, it was kind of difficult for me because I was part of a friend group that they were like all mostly going to like the more popular schools like UW Seattle, like Wazoo and all of that. And I couldn't really, and people in my friend group that were going to UW Bothell, I only know like two of them. So coming here was kind of rough start. Like the first 2 weeks I was like really lonely. only people that I talked to was like my roommates and then some people in my classes. But ever since like I was introduced to like VSA, like most of the friends I have now were through VSA or people that are in VSA. So it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like happy to know that someone also went through something like what I did at the beginning of my college career. So yeah.
College is a lonely place sometimes. You'd be like, Jasmine here, join a sorority.
We all lonely people, bro.
But Johnny, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So you talked about being an officer for both Seattle U and UW Baltos VSA. So I wanted to ask, how has being a member and an officer impact you, like, socially? And like, what are the things that you learned from that you're still using today?
Well, socially, like both experiences are very similar to each other. It's just that like the big difference is that with the officer team, you're the one that's creating the social event. But as a member, it's been a long time since I was a member. It was my freshman year since the last time I was a member, because every year since then I was part of an officer team. But from what I remember, being as a member, it's like you come in and you kind of know a little bit about what the meeting's about, but then you don't really know what's happening. And so like that surprise factor and also that excitement is what really brought me back a lot. And like socially, like, like I said, like through these meetings, I got the chance to meet so many different people from so many different backgrounds and cultures and skill levels and things like that. And like, I met at the time I was getting really getting into photography. And it was through that, being a member and through meeting a lot of different people, that I met some of my photography friends. I met some people who had the same passion as me. And so, one of the things that I had learned and gained from it was all the different tips and tricks that all these different people would help me when I first started going to meetings and things like that. And then on top of that, the photography thing is great, but also like the SU was really good at bringing in culture lessons into their meetings. And so, doing like the word of the day or having, cultural themes like that or Black April, and just like a lot of different cultural aspects of Vietnamese culture that I never really got a chance to learn, just because, coming from a white high school, I was kind of forced, or not really forced, but like, that pressure to become more white was really high, just because I would get made fun of for who I was, made fun of for the food that I brought, how it smelled, how I looked, and things like that. And so I rejected my culture in a way. And so joining VSA, being a member, and learning everything that I did really helped me gain that aspect back. And so, but on the other hand, being on the officer side of things is a lot different, just because one, the way I think of it is that the officer team, for every single general meeting, the officer team is the one that's responsible for setting the tone of the meeting, right? If the officer team isn't excited, if they're not, showing energy, of course, nobody else is going to do it, because they're the ones that are the role models. They're the ones that are responsible for putting the meeting together, and they're the ones that invited every single person to go. And so it's like you inviting people to your own birthday party, but you're not excited for people to come to your own birthday party. Like, of course, no one's going to want to be there. And so like, because being that officer position, you're kind of forced to be the one to reach out to people, say hi to them, welcome them in, introduce yourself, your pronouns, have them introduce yourself, and be the one that instigates the social interactions. And so being an officer, like I was, that was one of the things that I really got a chance to practice on, just because as the years went by, I became more and more introverted. And so forcing myself to do that, and forcing the other people in the team to do that, really helped establish like the overall tone of the club, but also helped me, hone in on my own social skills and, put me out of my comfort zone to be able to learn. And so like just that aspect alone, I was being an officer, like that was one of the biggest like social things you could do. But then in terms of like setting up the meetings and doing things like that, even like culture show and stuff, like you really have to know what you're talking about, because if you're putting on a culture meeting and you know anything about culture, like you're putting out that meeting but you even know what day it is or like what happens on it, like that's kind of awkward. And so like, you know, being on top of everything and, you know, things like that is just like what really helped me with the social aspect of being an officer versus a general member.
Yeah, for my transition from a member to an officer just this past year, right, as a member, like you said, Johnny, there's that surprise factor of you like not exactly knowing what's going to happen at that specific meeting, each specific general meeting that the officers make, right? But on the other hand, as an officer, you've designed it and you should know about it because you're the ones presenting it to the members, right? And another thing is that, right, I really like the analogy you use where like you invite people to your birthday party, right? But if you're not excited for your own birthday party, then who else is going to be, right? And I think that one's especially important, especially now while all of our meetings are like virtual, right? Because it's both a lot harder to bring in that extra energy and also express it so that the members feel it when it's virtual, right? In person, I feel like it's easier, but over virtual, I feel like it requires a lot more effort to make it be expressed and seen.
Yeah, I can't imagine like being in a virtual environment right now with VSA. I mean, I got an opportunity to be a family leader for the online venue NAFSA and things like that. And like just from that experience itself, it is possible. It is possible for you guys to be able to have enough energy to bring up the people who are joining your meetings, because through that experience, like I remember having so much fun, you know, being on my computer, and yet I was still able to make really close connections with people and like develop really strong relationships, and yet still learn from people about what's going on and things like that. So it's possible, you guys can do it. Everybody who's listening to this.
I think it's possible because recently we had like an East Coast member. His name is Alex from UMass, I think. Came to our meeting, and then all of a sudden, like he's like well known in our Discord server. He's like joining every single like meeting. He's been joining our calls and been talking a lot lately. And next thing you know, he might be coming over here during the summer to meet all of us. So like what you said, Johnny, like the connection, I guess, like online, yeah, it's difficult, but if you put in the effort to like know the person, or even for like the event, I think it's like what you always say, what you put in is what you'll get out of it. And so what we put into like making new friends online, like the connection afterwards is gonna be like, tremendous. And yeah, you're not gonna regret not doing it.
You see, I don't even know if I'm the appropriate person to be coined that quote. I just say it a lot. So for those who don't know, something that I always say to people who first join VSA is the quote of what you put into VSA will give it back to you. And as corny as that sounds, and as cheesy as it sounds, it's definitely true. Just because with the amount of time that I put into VSA, I definitely got back tenfold of the time I put in. What that can mean could be a multitude of things. It could be the time and effort you put into building a relationship with somebody, right? What you get back is a lifelong friend. Another thing could be the time and effort you put into planning a general meeting. Even if it doesn't go well, you're going to learn something from it, right? You might learn how you work with people. You might learn how to be in a leadership position. You might learn how to practice public speaking. And just like overall, like everything that you put in, you're always going to get back. So if like another example could be like if you go to a conference, that takes up a lot of your time. You're spending a whole weekend in a hotel with maybe like 5 people that you know. What you're going to get out of it? You're going to get professional development. You're going to get social development. You're going to get friends. You're going to get a family. You're going to meet all the alumni. You're going to meet, you're going to hear some really awesome keynote speakers. You're going to gain so many memories that you'll never would have gained if you never had spent the time and put in the time for it. And so anytime that I always speak in front of people and they want to talk to me about my VSA experience, that quote always comes up one way or another. So put a plaque somewhere, put that as a quote.
Just hang it in your room.
Yeah.
Well, does Bung or Jasmine, you have any other questions?
There was actually one thing I did want to talk about was with my core experience and the idea of professional development in VSA. So for those who don't know, I am currently a high school teacher. I currently teach biology, and did VSA play a big role in me becoming a teacher? No, it did not. But one of the things that VSA did help me in is with my professional development. And that's no matter what career that you choose, developing your professional side, right? That means professional speaking, the way you hold yourself, the way you work with people, the way you, talk to your bosses and things like that. That's considered like what I consider like professionalism. And one of the opportunities that I got to practice that was when I decided to sign up for CORE, which stands for the Council of Regional Representatives, my junior year. And pretty much what CORE is that you are elected to be a representative of our region to UNAFSA, which is the overall VSA of our North American VSA. And so when I first came into that position, I had absolutely no idea what the position entailed. I just thought that this would be a really cool opportunity for me just because the previous cores were Jack and Wing and Dana Tran. Like, they were really big influences in my life. And so I figured that I would check this out. I would try to sign up because it's a leadership position. It was a good opportunity for me to do it. But yet I had no idea what to do or what I had to do. And I was very lucky that the e-board at the time saw that they saw potential in me. And even though I really had no qualification for the experience, they saw that I had capabilities to grow. And therefore, because of that, they chose me and my partner, his name's Austin Langsley. And so one of the key things I had learned from that position is, of course, the idea of professionalism. And one of the biggest things that I learned was that you have to hold yourself to a higher standard no matter where you are, just because you're in a leadership position, right? So for those out there, if you are in a leadership position, what that means is that you are automatically put on a higher pedestal than you had asked for. That means that every single person below you is looking up to you. That means that you're also in that position, you are representing your school, you're representing your club, you're representing yourself, you're representing your team. So all of your actions and everything that you say, everything you do is a reflection of your organization, of your team, and of yourself. So that means is that no matter what platform that you're in, you have to watch what you say, you have to watch what you do, because again, like I said, is a reflection of your team. And so that aspect in itself was a really big eye-opener for me, just because there was a situation where I had said something and it blew up to this whole thing. And so I had learned that the way that I speak and the things that I say can adversely affect me, even though I never intended it to, right? And so that's just one big thing. Other things that I had learned was like, how to write meeting notes, how to conduct very efficient and proper meetons, how to speak in front of a crowd, how to speak, how to write a resume, and how to put on a presentation. It's just like every single thing that has to do with professionalism I had learned through that experience. And so how I translated that to my career is very simple. All the skills that I had gained from that experience, I was able to put that into my interview, right? How my interview skills, how I talk to my boss now. And, even like with everyday things like writing my lesson plans, I take some of the skills that I learned from my core experience and put it into my lesson plans. And even when I just talk to my students, like in the group of students, like that professional public speaking part of me, like, yeah, it's part of it. And even just being a teacher itself, right? There's a lot of boundaries that you have to maintain. And that's, again, the whole idea of watching what you say, watching what you do, because if you put it out there, people are going to look at it a certain way. And if they know that you're a teacher, are you going to get hired again? Are you going to do this? So all those different things hit so many different aspects of your life, whether or not you think about it or not. So again, one more time, you guys, the time you put into VSA, it will give back to you, and whatever that can be, you choose.
I will forever remember that quote.
Very
Such
true.
a
I don't
beautiful.
think I can forget it. I don't know.
No.
It's been said so many times just in my first year of being an officer.
Want to get a plaque like right there?
Mindy
Just
says it like every chance she has.
See, the thing is that you guys have probably never heard it directly from me. Other people quote me on
Yeah,
it.
other people
no,
quote
I
Johnny.
heard it from you.
Oh, you're different because you were on the team.
I just heard Johnny
Yeah.
say it, so I've heard it now.
Jasmine's never heard. Hey, Jasmine, did you ever hear that quote before I even said it to you?
No, I just know the one that's like whatever you put into it, or whatever, however much you put into something, you get out of it, kind of deal.
That's the quote.
Yeah, dude,
I
that's
know,
Johnny.
but
Johnny
you know-
created that one.
Yeah,
that was
Johnny
the one
coined
Johnny
it.
made, you know?
I'm gonna get a picture of Johnny and just put the quote like right there above my bed. So like,
Dude, now every time I quote that, like in a paper, like in text citation, it'll be Johnny Ho. Which year did you say it in again? I need to know which year.
What's my what?
Well, when did you first say that quote? Because I need the year for my in-text citation.
I think 2018.
20. Okay, I'll remember that. I'm using that in my papers now.
Okay.
But yeah. One quick topic that I would like to quickly touch on is I think you mentioned what was it? It was like how VSA impacted your academics, fitness, or lifestyle. One thing I quickly want to touch on is the fitness aspect, right? For anyone who doesn't know Johnny Ho personally, for anyone who hasn't seen him in person, he's a very built man. On the behind especially. I mean, should you cut that part out? He's a very built man, right? And obviously that doesn't always happen naturally, right? And I'm sure you've worked very hard for it. And so I would basically I'm just asking like what was the correlation between, if there was any correlation between VSA and you working out and improving your health lifestyle?
Yeah. So when I graduated high school, I was only 120 pounds. I was the same height, 5'10", but 120. I was a stick. The whole reason why I started working out in the first place was because I went through a really bad breakup. And you guys know, when you go through a big bad breakup, that's going to cause a lot of different changes in your life. And so that's pretty much what kickstarted my workout career, or working out. But in terms of when VSA affected my fitness, that didn't really start until when I transferred over to you. Actually, that's a lie. It started my freshman year. And the reason why was because with my cousin, my youngest cousin, Karen, she was really getting into powerlifting. And Dana, who was, I think she was the president my sophomore year, and her boyfriend Michael, all of them were really into powerlifting and lifting in general. And plus my bigs, Tyler and Raymond, they were also really big into lifting. And so starting out, I had no idea what to do. And so I ended up working out a lot with those people. And they're the ones that really taught me how to do proper form, good fitness plans, good meal preps, good nutrition, things like that. Because everybody starts off somewhere. And I was fortunate enough to meet these people to be able to help me. And so I ended up I wanted to get into powerlifting my sophomore year, but then I ended up getting really bad back pain, so I couldn't do it anymore. But it really helped me establish like a good workout schedule, a good mental attitude as well, like because you need motivation, you need perseverance, you need all different things in order to actually develop a good fitness career and a fitness life. And so by the time that I had transferred over to UW Bothell, I really wanted to share that knowledge with other people who were interested in getting into lifting and fitness in general. And so I think at the time, when I was a sophomore or junior, even in my senior year, I was like one of very few people who actually like consistently went to the gym and lifted and worked out and stuff. And there was a lot of people who had come up to me and asked me like, how do you gain weight? How do you gain muscle? And how do you put on like a couple pounds? And so I used the opportunity to be able to share what I had learned from people who had taught me when I was in these guys' positions just then. And so like and eventually what ended up happening was I worked out with some of these VSA people, like Neil, for example. Neil's really into working out, and so I worked out with him for a while. He really motivated me to hit my maxes and hit some PRs. And then with people like Benny, for example, he's my little, just helping him get his fitness under his foot and learning the lifts and learning what to do, how to eat properly and things like that. So it's like a whole cycle for me. I learned how to start somewhere and was able to pass on my knowledge, and hopefully people who I pass on the knowledge to are able to pass on to the next cycle of people who want to get into fitness.
Yeah, I'd say typically it's that first getting into fitness is probably like the hardest part, right? Because like even if everybody wants to have like a good body, right? Everyone wants to lift big, they want to hit big PRs, stuff like that. But right, that issue is that you don't have that knowledge, right? You don't have the knowledge of proper form. You don't have the knowledge of, what's the term again? Progressive overload, right? You just kind of want to go straight, hit those big PRs, hit those big deadlifts, those bench presses. But people underestimate like the amount of effort and time that it takes to actually get there, right? Because like people go up to you and people will not up to you, well, not up to me. When I said you, I was referring to me. But when people go up to Johnny Ho, they're like, this guy's big. All right, I want to be like this guy, right? But obviously they don't always see the amount of time, effort, and work that you put in to actually get there, right?
I don't know where you're hearing that, but
oh, it's my inner conscience telling me. It's like that subliminal messaging, like that, those undertones. I'm getting those. Yeah, but I think
I mean, if there's one big piece of advice I could give to people now, and when they want to get into fitness, is don't be ashamed that you are lifting small, because everybody starts off somewhere. Okay, the fact that you made it to the gym in the first place, the fact that you're there pumping some iron, that's already a big accomplishment. And if people are making fun of you for that, they are clearly not good people at all, right? Yeah. So be happy, be proud that you actually made it. And so that is the most big piece of advice I could give. Second piece of advice I could give: focus on form rather than strength. Okay, it's a big confidence boost if you can bench press 315 pounds, but if you are gonna tear your shoulder as a result of that, is it really worth it? I don't think so. Okay, so getting that form down is most important, because if you get the form down, the weight will come a lot easier.
Yeah,
we're talking about the one where the guy literally tore off his entire.
Yeah, did he tear his pec?
He's like, and you just see it move up.
Dude, after I saw that video, every single TikTok after that was just like, all right, I'm only lifting light now, and this guy would pick up like 1 pound dumbbells and just be like bench pressing.
It's like the weights, and then it's like a piece of tissue paper on the end.
Yeah, I can definitely see Jasmine squat 415 in the next couple.
415? I think 415 is a little low. She could probably hit like 600. Yeah. But also, what is it? I forgot that one saying, but it's something like, I don't know the first part, but the second part is abs are built in the kitchen, right? And so that's one thing that I feel like I underestimated a lot, right? And it's that eating enough, for me, I feel like eating enough is harder than like actually like working out, right? Doing those lifts, like to build up those muscles. I feel like eating enough to supply your muscles with the nutrients to like build up again is the hardest part for me. Like, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I've never had a 6-pack in my entire life, just because my cravings of ice cream and chips are way too up there for me. Like, I can't ever break that down. But yeah, definitely, like I always heard that, like fitness is like 80% nutrition, 20% actually going to the gym. Just because like the food and like food science, things like that, there's a lot of different things that go into that. In terms of like, if you want to build muscle, if you want to lose weight, if you want to get more toned, like things like that. It's insane. It's a whole field that you can actually get a college degree in if you're interested. So yeah, I agree, dude. I've never had a 6-pack. I don't think I ever will.
And it do be like that.
Just have the confidence, bro.
Hey, speaking of which, you don't need a 6-pack, dude. Like, you're still good looking even if you don't. Like, look at me.
Yeah. Johnny gets all the apes. I mean, girls.
I have a girlfriend.
Yeah, he's taken. Unfortunately. But yeah. Do you have any other questions for us, Johnny?
I have questions for you. I thought you guys are asking me questions.
Well, yeah, we are, but like if any came up,
If
like,
you have any for us.
do you have any, Johnny?
No, not really. I'm chilling.
All right, fine, cool, whatever. I see how it is. But yeah, but yeah, thank you for joining us today, Johnny. It was great having you with us, explain stuff to us, and bestow upon us your wisdom. I will use it, especially you get out as much as more than what you put. Yeah, that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
You're gonna coin it, but you don't even remember. Like,
Look,
know what you actually
you
said.
probably have it somewhere, Din. I'll just use it off of you. But yeah, that will wrap up today's podcast. Thank you again, Johnny, for joining us. Thank you, Tree, for setting this up. And if all of y'all are interested in hearing more about our podcast, we will have another podcast next week. Tune in. We will also be posting a Instagram story. So if you all have any questions on our next topic, which will be about Asian hate crimes, more info on that soon. But yeah, if y'all have any questions on that, send it to us on Instagram. And yeah, thank you, everybody.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, what's the one?
Please.
So this is my parting message for everybody.
Oh yeah,
So
totally.
Of
I
course.
have heard from
Uh-huh.
people that people find me very intimidating when they first see me.
What?
Mm.
No,
Okay.
that's Lauren.
I don't even know why.
It's because
Maybe-
you're so big and masculine, Johnny.
Okay, I guess I understand why. But what I want to say to people is that, like, you know, I've been through the whole cycle of college. I've been through the whole cycle of VSA and things like that. And if you're in a position where you're kind of stuck or you want to talk to somebody, like, please reach out to me. Like, I would be happy to help you through your whatever you're going through. If you have any questions about education, just because there's a lot of people who are Asian, especially Vietnamese people and Asian people in general. There's not a lot of people who are in education or into teaching. And so, like, if that's a very, like, you know, questionable field, or like you don't really much know about it, they don't know a lot about it, hit me up. I am an open book. So I'm sure, like, my Instagram is probably going to put down in the description somewhere, right? Shoot me a message.
That's a
I'll be-
plug for himself.
I don't know, dude.
It's fine,
But yeah,
Johnny.
like, you know, please reach out to me. I'm not as scary as people think, or as you think that I am, or have heard from other people. I'm always willing to help. I really want to pass on my knowledge and help people out through their own problems and things like that. So
Buy his ebook, How to Get Ripped and Shredded in 2 hours.
what am
my
I, Kobe
favorite
Ting?
Dude, right? But yeah. All right. Thank you again, Johnny, for joining us. And for everyone
Thank you,
else,
everyone, for
tune
tuning
next
in.
week.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.